Hi, friend. Welcome back to another episode of the Mindful Drinking Movement podcast. Hello. If we haven't met virtually or otherwise, I'm your host, Jess Betancourt. I'm a certified hypnotherapist and holistic health life coach, and I made this podcast to help you disentangle yourself from habitual alcohol use so that you can feel freer, lighter, have more fun, not feel obsessed, and generally just spend your life doing things that are more important to you as you grow and evolve and realize that drinking habitually is probably not one of those things. That was the case for me, and it's been a profound experience in my life. And I just continue on this path of sharing what works for me so that you can take what works for you and apply it and have success with it, or try out other things and see what works for you, because I believe that there's really no one prescribed way of doing things, maybe almost anything that is for everybody, and that changing your habits is a personal thing, and it doesn't have to look any one way. It doesn't have to be black and white. It doesn't have to be all or none. It can be what you want it to be as it grows and evolves and changes with you, as we do on this journey of life. So today's episode is called The Strange Advice Special. And as I was kind of outlining this, I realized that these are just kind of like maybe unorthodox things to say and do, and maybe one or two of them might fly in the face of conventional advice or well-meaning perdoname, or well-meaning things that people might say to help you or encourage you to change your drinking. And by changing your drinking, what I mean is if you are running on automated drinking behavior and you want it to feel less automated, that can be changing your drinking. Drinking at half the capacity that you're accustomed to, that can be changing your drinking. Drinking half a bottle of wine when you're used to having a full one and plus, that's also changing your drinking. Not drinking at all or becoming someone who's totally sober and leaving alcohol behind and closing the book on it is also changing your drinking. So again, it's just whatever works for you, and it can change and morph in stages. I mean, that's what's happened for me, and I like it. I like it like that. So these are the quotey finger strange advice tidbits that I'd love to share with you today. Please take what works for you and disregard the rest. So the first thing is that I would advise not creating feelings of scarcity or restriction around alcohol. And this would be saying things like, I can't have a drink after work, or I won't drink more than 2 glasses of wine. And these kind of like, no, don't do that, admonishing self-talk creates inner conflict, and it kind of like awakens and arouses the rebel archetype of ourselves, and then it doesn't end well. It doesn't end well. Often this is the type of thing that sets up a binge, or that creates, I'm not really a huge fan of the word self-sabotage, but like that kind of behavior that seems like it's like the antithesis of what you wanted. It's the contrary of what you set out to do. And it is because, in my humble opinion, that the mind is seeking pleasure, and it's always looking for what it can do. It's looking for freedom and options and fun and excitement. And like that's what the mind likes, but it also likes it to be safe. Right? Like we're seeking out safety and comfort while simultaneously newness and excitement and fun. So to say something to yourself of like, I can't have a drink at this party. I just cannot. I can't. Like, I'm going to go, but I can't drink. I can't. You are setting up a lot of tension inside of yourself and creating a lot of resistance that creates its own kind of like energetic force that then collapses or snaps back in on itself. You probably have had an experience like that. So my advice is to flip those types of sayings around and tell yourself what you can do. Tell yourself what you're allowed to do. And it might sound something like, I can drink if I want to. Like, I'm an adult, it's legal, I can do whatever I want. But do I really want to? And it's just really, it's like changing the inner dialogue a little bit. Well, it seems subtle, but it's actually quite profound and powerful once you make this a practice. So don't limit yourself with some ideal number of units of alcohol that you will like permit yourself to have. It's very restrictive. That's creating feelings of scarcity, right? Which then we have to go act against to prove to ourselves that oh no, there's abundance. I have enough. This isn't scarcity. Like it sets up this kind of opposing effect, right? Equal and opposite forces. So just curtail that, go around that, and avoid saying things or sentences to yourself that sound like no or can't or won't and have even numbers attached to them. So, because counting and tallying and creating rules and such, I'm not gonna say it doesn't work because it could work in the short term, but to have lasting, changing, true transformation is not the best way to go about it. So avoid creating feelings of scarcity or restriction around alcohol. Instead, what you can do is make a practice of tuning into yourself and listening to your body and how you really feel and like what's really going on with you. And if you are imbibing, like what is your capacity for drinking anything at any given moment? Right? Is this making you feel full, like sweaty, hot? Is it changing your temperature? Is it making you feel cold? Because alcohol actually does drop the body temperature. Is your tummy being affected? Are you feeling tired? And then once you are real about the knowledge of what alcohol's effect is on you truthfully, then you can say something like I can drink, but do I really want to? Or what else sounds really good to do or eat or drink right now instead? And let me go do that first. So create spaciousness and freedom and fun and like turn it into a yes of what you can do, what sounds fun and pleasurable, because not doing something or limiting or putting caps or parameters around what you are allowing yourself to do, this doesn't sound very fun. It sounds like someone's controlling you. Sounds like you're in trouble. Like for me, that just makes me feel like I'm in trouble or like someone is trying to coerce me. So it's almost like, I don't know, it kind of feels like manipulative, like self manipulation. So let's be honest and real about, well, what is it that can create abundance? What is it that can create expansion? What feels expansive and what feels abundant? Rather than, no, only one, not today, things like that. Okay? So we just flip that around. My strange advice is to flip that around and turn your self talk around alcohol into yeses. And yeses isn't like, and yeses aren't, yes, of course you can drink the whole bottle. Just do it. Just go for it. That's not a yes. that's that's a different kind of conversation, right? And that's actually outside of the scope of what this is intended to help you with. And if you are talking to yourself like that, please notice that you are, and you could also take that further to investigate what part of you feels like there's not enough, or what part of you is saying that, what part of you feels deprived. The second strange piece of advice I have for you today is to notice where you have ritualized drinking patterns. And if you've already begun working on changing your habituated alcohol habits, then you've probably noticed I drink every day after work. I buy a bottle of wine when I come home and I drink the whole bottle. That's ritualizing alcohol behavior, as an example. Not that that's everybody, not a prescribed set of behaviors that everybody does, but to notice what your own are and then to change them, but also at the same time, don't go and create new ones. So this was kind of like like a phase or a stage level that I went through, was that I successfully transformed my weekday drinking, the 5 to 10 p.m. drinking that I was doing. I transformed that into doing other things during the weekdays, but then I noticed, okay, I drink on Fridays now. Now I've like, at that time, I had normalized drinking on the weekends, but then I noticed, okay, I was just drinking every weekend. And like 5, when I felt like I was done with my responsibilities, then I would open some wine or have a beer and then drink kind of like, through Saturday. So I noticed that like that was becoming normal, and then I didn't want that to be normal. I didn't want ritualized drinking patterns in any way. So to just notice where yours are. Like, do you have ritualized drinking patterns for the weekends that like perhaps you just drink on the weekends now, but that's still a ritualized drinking pattern? Or do you only drink with friends and now you've created ritual and habit with that? Or out at restaurants, etc. So what this is doing is just setting up a new association of promoting drinking to your brain. And then it's also subconsciously probably setting you up to look for or to like create these situations intentionally, or more so to kind of exaggerate them, or make them happen faster or sooner so that then you can drink, right? You need that space to give yourself permission to then drink. So this is also something I would advise against in the Strange Advice special. Really try to not have habituated drinking patterns, and if you do, set yourself up to dismantle them, and notice how that they might want to shift or morph or change into other ritualized patterns of behavior. And then if that is happening, this is also an indicator that the deeper, more underlying issue of the pattern, the behavior, has not been addressed. So this takes some deeper inner work. You can work with a therapist. You can work with me if you like, as I specialize in this. But there needs to be some deeper uncovering if you notice that your I don't often use the word addiction, but your habituated patterns are morphing into something else. Then it's like, okay, this is slippery, right? You haven't uncovered the real reason for this symptom to exist. And it is something that can be changed. I will tell you that much, like for sure. It's an old belief system that you're harboring, something about yourself that is being disguised or masked by alcohol use. But when you find out what it is, it's incredibly liberating because it does away with the subconscious need or desire to cover it up in any way, because you can accept it. So it's like these shadow parts of ourselves that when we find them and put light on them, we can love them and we can nurture or tend to them in whatever way that they've needed, that they've been asking for probably years for most of us. And it's a beautiful, beautiful process. I have some resources that you can tap into if you want to go deeper into that work, and I'll mention more about them at the end of my Strange Advice special. But so that if you notice that there's morphing happening, and morphing also happens like if you did away with cigarettes, for example, but now like you're really into wine, or you used to have a sugar addiction or habituated patterns of use. But now you are like, you get on Instagram and you scroll, and like an hour's gone by. That is a morphing of addictive behavior as well. And it's like, oh my gosh, probably 99% of people have this in some capacity. Not everyone's is alcohol, but to look for something to fulfill ourselves, or to feel connected, or to like get these highs that we're looking for. Like almost everybody's doing it. So definitely don't feel alone, but do feel cool that you're actually trying to dig deeper and heal these layers that are acting on you and creating and shaping your reality. It's cool. So welcome to the cool club. No, it is. It's a profound and beautiful thing to do. Like what else? I mean, what else are we doing with our lives if we're not seeking to heal deeper layers of ourselves and our psyches, and thus the greater collective of the world at large? I don't really see why else would we be here? But that is a bigger question, more existential conversation for another time. Okay, so morphing habits. So noticing that you've been ritualizing, and if you are, what to do about that is to look for patterns, obviously, right? And then create subtle shifts in the pattern. So if you notice that you have a pattern of like, okay, it's Friday, now I get to go get my rosé. What if you got something different in place of that, and just notice how that might make you feel uncomfortable, right? But just uncomfortable, not in pain, not in agony, just uncomfortable. And to just kind of sit with those border spaces of like where discomfort comes in, because that is where growth is. And maybe you do end up going to get the rosé, but maybe you went and got it at 8 o'clock instead of 5 o'clock, and maybe you had one glass of it or two glasses of it, or maybe it just wasn't even doing it for you, and maybe you're like, you know what, I just need to like call my mom, or like I want to go to that concert in the park. Shifting, creating subtle shifts that actually have a huge impact, because you're teaching your brain that change is possible, not only possible but desirable, fun, exciting, and also safe in the capacity that you're doing it. Okay. Yeah. Number 3 in the Strange Advice Special is to acknowledge your stories. What are your stories about alcohol? Um, and to really get real that the stories are what are the driving force behind your actions. As long as you have a story in place, the story is going to play out in a certain way. So the stories include things like, I just love drinking. Like I just love drinking. I just love wine. Like I love how it looks in my glass. I love having it with my friends. I love everything about it. Well, those are not facts. That type of self storytelling is a belief system. The story guards a belief system, right? The stories that we tell ourselves are these like fabrications that are enclosed around a deeper belief system that they're protecting. And when you can just kind of take a step back from your stories, acknowledge that your stories are not facts, they're not even you, they're things that you made up to protect beliefs that you harbor deeply, and the beliefs believe that they're protecting you, which is an interesting rabbit hole to go down. But our beliefs we make up because at the time that we create them, they're intended to serve us, to protect us for our survival, to make us accepted by society or loved by a parent or thought beautiful by a partner, whatever it is or was. And the beliefs, they become repeated in our mind as a form of self-talk and the back soundtrack of our consciousness, and they're just played over and over again. And to not have those things poked at, we create these stories around it. Like perhaps, say, for example, I had a belief structure that I was unworthy, or that I would never be fully, truly loved, or felt like I really belonged. I wouldn't feel safe with anybody. So drinking allowed me to open up and feel more social and, have intimate romantic relationships without freaking out. And so I have this whole intertwined system about I'm not worthy, yet alcohol has helped me do XYZ. And so I tell myself that I love it. And I tell myself that I need it. And then I create all these other details about why it's important to me and why I value it. And that story is a machine that keeps the behavior running a certain way. And so it is really valuable to look at this type of self talk, subconscious self talk, as storytelling. It's a story. It's a story that feels important, but it's not factually based. It's a fabrication. It's like a fable or fairy tale almost, and it's like as long as we're under the spell of these stories, it's like being under a spell. Like I fully remember feeling like that when I woke up, so to speak, from my alcohol use. And I was like, wow, I feel like I woke up from being under a spell. I feel like there was seriously some sort of thing acting upon me that like was working its magic on me, and maybe not magic in like a white magic kind of way, you know? So when you start to tell yourself a different story, or even just to see the story that you are currently saying, you can begin to break the spell of the story that's holding the behavior in place. Also, I think a side note, segue, why we don't do this more often is because we, people, human beings, our ego selves, we hate to be wrong. Just look at some kids arguing. I have a myriad examples of this because I have 4 little ones, and their fights are like, those are my mouse socks. Mom gave me those mouse socks. And you said you didn't want them, and you threw them, so I picked them up, so they're mine. No, those are my mouse socks because I love them. And you don't even like pink. And those are mine. And like these are the types of things that incense the ego and who is right. And it's like the struggle to be right. And that's why we don't look at our stories and our beliefs with this like discerning eye, is because we like to be right. And that's fine. But it's really interesting to be wrong. Or if you don't like that word, like to change your mind. It's pretty magical to change one's mind. So maybe think of it that way if you don't like to be wrong. Because nobody likes to be wrong. But what if you did? It would be an interesting personality characteristic. Okay, where am I? Number 4. Number 4 in the Strange Advice Special. Consider this metaphor, please. You are in a relationship with this substance, just like you would be in a relationship with a person. There's an intimate connection between someone who drinks often, daily or whatever. You have a relationship with the spirit, with the energy of the substance. Your spirit and your energy is intertwined, intermingled with the spirit and the energy of alcohol. And you have co-created an identity where alcohol is a focal point. And this is also another reason, to segue back to my prior segue, why people don't change their alcohol behavior more easily. It's because there's such a strong identification with being someone who drinks for whatever the reasons you drink it for, whatever the places you drink it for, and whoever you're drinking it with. It's this identification that we hold on to, because without our identity, who are we? Which is also cool to explore. Who are we without being these things who we tell ourselves that we are? It's really this like relationship that you've been in probably for decades. For me, it was decades. And just kind of not seen it for what it was until it became something that you didn't want it to be. Much like we could use the parallel example of a bad or volatile, an abusive or a toxic relationship, right? Like maybe this hot person, you're like, ooh, they really do it for me. Like they're funny and the sex is great. They're got a full head of hair or whatever, the things that get you going. And like that overrid that they, I don't know, had some horrible thing. It puts the blinders on, right? To ride the wave of infatuation and ignore all the rest helps us put blinders on to whatever relationship we're in that is no longer serving us. So imagine, or like get real about, that you're in a relationship with this substance, and I, a client and I made this joke one time. We both thought it was funny. When you're looking at a drink, like she was talking about a Coors Light or something. She was at someone's house and they offered her a Coors Light, and she was like, "I didn't even want it. It was just like looked like a farty beer." And we said, "Okay, next time you're in a situation like that, and like you don't really want it, ask yourself, if this drink were a person, would I fornicate with it? Like, would I want an intimate relationship with this drink? Like, is this drink worth that to me? You know? And hold a higher standard for yourself. AKA, be pickier, be more selective. And this will help minimize your drinking as well. Just be more picky, be worthy of better. And not just better quality alcohol, but like just when we raise our standards, our environment does change because we start to attract things that are more worthy of how we're feeling. Like when we want to feel better and we want to feel more nourished or delighted or joyful or connected, and we put that intention out, that's what shows up. So be more selective about what it is that you're choosing to do or to engage with, because you are worthy, because you deserve better, because you are worth it. Yes. Let that sink in, please. And the final piece of advice, and the strange advice special for this day, January 21st, 2025, is to find ways to entertain yourself or to feel Quotey air fingers tripped out by getting more real with life. Said another way, like, we need better drugs. Like, alcohol is really not a great drug at all. Um, there's a lot of terrible drugs out there, and alcohol is not a great drug. Like, let's be real about that. It never delivers. It never delivers. And that's why we're like drinking it to feel a certain way or to like achieve something or get something or change state. But like that place never comes. And that's why our mind tells us, well, it wasn't in the third drink. Maybe it's in the sixth drink. And then we woke up and we vomited everywhere. You know what I mean? Like it's not ever going to happen with this substance. So if you, what a lot of people want, because I speak to people about their desires about drinking for work, obviously, and I love hearing people's um, wisdom. Like we have so much wisdom, like it's all right there. All the answers really are within you. You don't need me or anybody else. But if you want me to help you, that's why I'm here. We want to feel like these altered states, or we want to feel tripped out a little bit. But I think that that's also just like a facade or like an intro to our deepest desire, which is that we want to feel connected with the divine, or we want to know God, or to touch the mystery. Like that's really, I think, um, I feel and I believe that this is part of the problem. Societally and culturally, we don't have these outlets so much anymore, or they're very covert, or they're squashed, or they're overridden by capitalism or mainstream culture, disposable, disposable things, you know, things that don't have lasting quality. Like, here, take this and feel better, as opposed to explore your relationship with God or spirit, because that also feels better, but it also lasts and it also does give you like these moments of feeling like tripped out and connected to things that are greater than our small little ego selves. That's um, that's a good drug. I don't want to say that that's a drug, but you know what I mean. Like if you're looking for altered states, there are so many much more fun and fulfilling ways to do it. Let me give you a few examples. Being really physically present and using your sensorial senses, the five senses, the five common senses that we all taught in first grade, um, to really like smell and to really taste and to really see and touch and listen is kind of psychedelic. Like being highly present feels psychedelic when you practice it and in a healthy place, right? Maybe you don't want to do that in like the subway in New York City or something, but maybe you do. Because also alcohol dulls our senses. So to practice turning them back on and being like, wow, and noticing the contrast. Oh, when I drink, I don't really smell. Like I can't smell flowers or the tops of my kids' heads or something like that, and just like bring these things to your conscious awareness of what the cost is. What is the opportunistic cost of drinking all the time? Well, it deletes my sense of smell, for example, or like my vision's blurry. I can't read at night if I drink a bottle of wine. Things like that, right? Using your 5 sensorial senses, but also when you drink less and you get more interested in the spiritual aspects of life or your inherent connection to God or divine or spirit, you also start to activate and get really interested in, curious about the 6th senses, the spiritual gifts, which I am still in like the baby stages of learning about, but it's enthralling. Like it's so fun to activate these things and learn about your chakras and your energy centers and all of these correlations with the universe and systems at large. So you can go down those rabbit holes too and also feel kind of tripped out and like, wow, this is amazing. And you don't need alcohol to do it. That's my point. You can also practice imagining and visualization because alcohol does rob us of that ability to imagine. More like what happens when we drink alcohol is we imagine like worst case scenarios or we rehash the past or we ruminate, but we don't really create anything new because we're slowing down the neurons. We're not creating new synaptic connections. We're not growing new neurons when we're drinking alcohol. But when you imagine you are, when you visualize what you would like to see and feel and experience and do in life and what you see as the larger picture, like zoom out, instead of zooming in or backwards, but zoom out, you do get tingles in your brain. You can really turn this on just with your inner imaginatory world. And it's fun. You can also, a few more here. I think I'm rambling on for a minute. Okay, I gotta go. My kids are come barging in on me. Also, to kind of like piggyback on what I was just saying, get in deeper with ancient wisdom practices like Tantra, like shamanic journeying meditation, which I will go more deeply into in my membership. Salud. We're doing a live session on shamanic journeying meditation later this month. So if you want to try it out, come check it out. The link is down below. Working with the ancestral or the spirit realms, also a practice that I've recently begun, and it is amazing. Like just the way that I feel just at the beginnings of it, I can't even imagine what's going to happen to me as I get weirder here right before your eyes, and pleasurably so. Working with the ancestral or spirit realms really allows you to feel not alone. Like you're not just in this life to suffer by yourself. Like we are a collective. We are humanity. We are interwoven with so much that we cannot see, but you can feel it or you can start to tap into it. There are lots of better resources to explain this better than I'm doing myself because this is not my forte or my area of expertise. It's just something I'm very interested in. So explore one different modalities of healing or therapy to help expand your consciousness, to make it easier for you and more pleasurable for you to be at home inside of your body, because your body is never really asking for alcohol. So when you slow down and do deeper listening and deeper uncovering, alcohol starts to fade away. And it's fun. Hey, thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for coming to the Strange Advice special. And if you are interested in taking this kind of work that I do deeper, which is transforming or healing your relationship with alcohol, I have an 8-week private program, which I'm still accepting applicants for until summertime. As of the time of this recording. I also have a 6-week online course if you want to do deeper self-limiting beliefs work on yourself and to rewrite and change the story that you have about alcohol. That is available on demand. And Salud, my membership program that is available via an app on your phone with meditations and daily spiritual practices, ways to like feel buzzed and lit up without relying on alcohol to do it for you, so you feel more connected to yourself and the greater source of life, and just like finding ways to really get juicy and jiggy with life and the time that you have here, because geez, who knows when we will cross that rainbow bridge. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here. It's nice to connect with you. Go do something fun today, and I will see you soon.
Stay warm and save every day, all in the Kroger app. Get 10 for $10 on select varieties of Kroger pasta, Starkist tuna pouches, or Powerade. Then get flavorful fresh Heritage Farm chicken split breasts, drumsticks, or thighs for $1.49 a pound, all with your card. Shop these deals at your local Kroger, less than 5 miles away. Or tap the screen now to download the Kroger app to save big today. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Prices and product availability subject to change. Restrictions apply. See site for details.